But how? You humans, my dear Artur, listen to those words. Those are the tragic, dying gasps of Lord's Blade Ciaran, literally struggling to murmur the name of her fallen companion with her final breath. It's a haunting conclusion, right? And it establishes this incredibly deep, totally mysterious connection between a shadowy, elite assassin and the legendary Knight Artorias. Welcome to our explainer. Today we're jumping right in to unravel one of the absolute most heartbreaking and fiercely debated mysteries in gaming lore.
Let's dive straight into the lore iceberg for Lords Blade Ciaran and Knight Artorias. We're going to piece together this incredibly tragic tale. By examining the established facts, diving into hidden cut content, and really weighing the deepest community theories, we're going to reconstruct the life, the love, and the potential legacy of a character who speaks very few words, but honestly leaves an absolutely massive impact on the story.
All right, Section 1, Gwyn's 4 Elite Knights. To actually understand the depths of this mystery, we've got to start with the surface-level facts of Lord Gwyn's inner circle.
So here are Lord Gwyn's 4 knights. This grounds us in a universe where the absolute most powerful warriors were divided up by specialty. You've got Dragon Slayer Ornstein serving as the captain, Hawkeye Goff leading the Great Archers, Knight Artorias commanding the frontline knights, and then finally Lord's Blade Ciaran leading the Lord's Blades. What this shows us is that Artorias led the glorious, highly visible charges against the Abyss, while Ciaran, well, she operated entirely in the shadows. Two vastly different warriors firmly bound together by their service. Moving on to Section 2, the Lord's Blade Assassin. Let's go a little deeper into the iceberg and examine the specific, deadly role Ciaran actually played. The crucial takeaway here is that the Lord's Blades were an elite order of female assassins. Their job? Eliminating Gwyn's enemies from the shadows, using absolute subterfuge and terror. And Ciaran served as their uniquely decorated leader. Now, while the standard Lord's Blades were these really creepy Cyclops headpieces, Ciaran earned something different, a soft porcelain mask lined with ivory locks of hair. It was a unique badge of honor that completely hid her identity as she carried out her grim work. And her combat style? Oh, it was incredibly lethal. It followed this mesmerizing two-step procedure. Step 1, she'd distract her target with the dazzling golden streaks of her curved sword, the gold tracer, swinging it in what the lore basically describes as a hypnotic dance. Then, once the victim was thoroughly disoriented, bam! Step 2, she would sting them with the dark silver tracer, which is a dagger heavily coated in this vicious poison. That brings us to Section 3, a tragic, unrequited love. Now we're diving below the surface into the real emotional core of this explainer. The lore paints a truly heartbreaking image here. After the tragic corruption and death of Knight Artorias, Ciaran is discovered in the ruined land of Ulasil, solemnly paying her respects at his makeshift grave. And what's wild is, she doesn't ambush you. Instead, she just solemnly begs you for his soul. She even offers to give up her prized deadly weapons, the golden and dark silver tracers, literally just to have this final piece of her fallen companion so she can properly honor him. Now, in her own dialogue, she simply calls him a dear friend. But if we look at Hawkeye Goff's cut dialogue, we uncover a massive clue that her feelings went way, way deeper than just battlefield camaraderie. Goff says she had strong feelings for the Great Artorias, the poor, poor girl. I mean, wow, it's a quiet, tragic confirmation of a silent devotion. Sadly, the physical evidence left behind at his grave pretty much seals her tragic, lonely fate. The Hornet Ring, an artifact granted exclusively to Ciaran to boost her critical assassination strikes, is permanently found resting on a female corpse right behind Artorias' grave. It heavily implies she never actually left his side, literally just remaining there until she passed away. Okay, Section 4, the anomaly of her size. Let's see how this all builds into our next layer. We need to ask a major question that the lore community has debated for years. If Ciaran is part of Gwyn's race of giant gods, I mean, think about Ornstein, Artorias, and Gwyn, they're all towering figures. Why does she share the physical stature of a mere human? It's a huge anomaly. When we impartially look at the community theories, two main arguments pop up. Theory 1 argues that among the gods, size basically equals power and consumed souls. Or simply, that height naturally varies, and being small perfectly suits an assassin whose entire strategy is based on stealth, right? versus Theory 2, which proposes she's actually a human who achieved a remarkably high rank, and her kind of uppity attitude is just her way of distancing herself from her lowly origins. However, her own words threw a wrench in that second theory. When provoked, she snarls, you humans, always taking what you please. Speaking of humans as this completely separate other strongly implies she definitely isn't one of them. So ultimately, her true biological race remains a totally captivating mystery. Finally, Section 5, the frigid dancer theory. Let's descend to the very abyss of fan speculation. This is a theory that absolutely set the community ablaze. Is the dancer of the Frigid Valley actually Lord's Blade Ciaran? Did Ciaran's soul somehow survive the ages, avoiding the curse, just to become this terrifying new boss in Dark Souls 3? Proponents of this theory point to a pretty undeniable list of similarities. Think about it. The dancer moves with a very specific, deliberate, feminine grace and fluidity. She wields two weapons that leave bright visual traces in the air, exactly like the gold and silver tracers. She even begins the fight with one blade and then literally produces the second mid-fight, perfectly mimicking Ciaran's combat rhythm. On top of all that, the dancer boss fight is triggered right near a statue that strongly resembles Knight Artorias leaning against his greatsword. It's wild. But looking at this impartially as an explainer, we have to weigh those similarities against some glaring inconsistencies. Ciaran uses gold and poison weapons, wears a soft porcelain mask, and, as the physical ring evidence tells us, died at Artorias' grave. The dancer, on the other hand, she uses fire and ash weapons, wears a metallic crown, and exists ages later in a completely different timeline. Because of those big discrepancies, the community consensus leans heavily towards an inheritor theory, meaning the dancer isn't literally Ciaran's physical body resurrected. Rather, since this universe operates on endless cycles of fire and dark, the dancer is more of a thematic inheritor, a spiritual reincarnation of Ciaran's soul born into a new age. Basically, a tragic echo of the assassin's grace. I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. In a world trapped in these endless, crushing cycles, does Ciaran's unrequited love for Knight Artorias echo through the ages, reincarnated as a tragic, frigid dance? Or did her devotion endure only as long as her life, ending quietly at a lonely grave in Olisale with nothing but a cold ring left behind? It's a profound question about the nature of love and legacy. Keep exploring the lore, and we'll see you in the next explainer.